Well, he made news last week announcing his run for governor. Now, Brad Raffensperger is sitting down with the 11Alive political team to explain his decision and what he hopes to do if he were to be elected next year. Joining us now, as he does every Friday, Zach Merchant, co-host of the award-winning show, The Georgia Vote. One day we'll get there, Zach. One day we'll get there. Congratulations to you, my friend.
Thank you, Chesley. Look, we are all award winners here.
You're part of the team, right? Talk to us about this sit down.
Yeah, another big week in Georgia politics, right? We say it every week. I'm going to have to find some new ways to say it, but it's because we are in the middle of a really pretty momentous political moment in our state. Even though Election Day is still a long way away, we have this growing, it feels like almost by the day or by the week, growing field of candidates running for both governor and Senate. Brad Raffensperger, he's the latest to jump into this gubernatorial contest. He is a Republican. He's entering a Republican primary that's got at least two other major contenders in it. And he enters this race with, if you're in Georgia or even around the country, you probably know Brad Raffensperger's name, so he's got high name recognition. But he also comes in with some baggage, at least in the eyes of some, at least in the past, Republican voters.
So where do things sit with the Republican primary right now?
Yeah, it's this really interesting sort of quickly changing, always evolving situation. So Raffensperger, we talked about his high name ID, right? That, of course, comes after the 2020 election, the controversy, the fallout of the presidential election here in Georgia. Raffensperger was a fierce defender of the validity of Georgia's election results. Chesley, you were here. You will remember that moment, as I think every Georgian will remember that moment. It was a flashpoint in our state's history. President Donald Trump, of course, was a very vocal, very public critic of the election results. He challenged the validity of the election results. There is another candidate in this gubernatorial primary on the Republican side who also questioned the validity of those results. That's current Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. At the time, he was a state senator. And so you've got this dynamic. And again, still very early in the primary race. We haven't seen these two candidates engage on this topic with each other, but I've asked both of them about it separately. You've got Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones running for the Republican nomination to be Georgia's next governor, who raised questions about the 2020 election results. You've got Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who is probably the state's most famous defender of those election results. And then you've got Attorney General Chris Carr, who's also in this race on the Republican side as well. You talk about Raffensperger, his history. Some state Republicans were really upset with him about his response to 2020. Delegates to the state GOP convention a few years ago, they voted to censure him. This year, they voted in what was a symbolic vote, but still the symbolism is there. They voted to try to ban him from qualifying as a Republican in future races. That really isn't going to work. He can run as a Republican. I asked him what he thought about all that and where he thinks he stands in the Republican Party right now. You can see his answer coming up this Sunday.
Yeah, I know you don't want to give it all away. Did he touch on this no income tax piece at all?
You know what, we did. Okay. And it was a question I didn't expect us to get to. But Chesley, you're right. That's something that a lot of people have been engaged with. It was Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones who kind of came out the gate with this big promise. He said, "You elect me, I'll get rid of the state income tax." Different candidates have had different sort of postures on that. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, he engaged with it. You'll see his answer coming up this weekend. But I will say, too, it wasn't just income tax he was interested in. He's also interested in property taxes, lowering property taxes. He's a Republican. You can expect he's going to advocate for lowering taxes. The big question when we talk about all this, though, in Georgia, the legislature, every year, the one thing they must do under Georgia law is pass a balanced budget. So if you get rid of the income tax, if you lower whatever it is, you got to make that up somewhere else. And that is the conversation point that we're going to keep having, and you can expect these candidates to keep being forced to, even if they don't want to sometimes, engage with.
Everybody will be watching for that. All right, you got 30 seconds left. Tell us what else we're going to see on the Georgia Vote this week.
Well, look, you can't have the Georgia Vote without Georgia voters. We say it every week. We always end the show with the voice of the voter. It's so important in this complicated political moment to hear from and put regular folks, regular voters, in the center of the political conversation. We sat down with Bree Smith this week. She is they call her, she's an advocate for, a supporter of the Grayson football program. She's a mom of two athletes, and she has a lot of really interesting thoughts on the state of our politics right now. Plus, I guarantee you, if you watch it, she'll bring a smile to your face. She was such a pleasure to interview.
Hey, man, you bring a smile as well. We'll be watching.
Thank you, Chesley.
Really appreciate it. All right, you can watch the Georgia Vote with Zach Merchant and Faith Jesse Sunday morning at 11 o'clock right here on 11 Alive Plus.